So today we're going to be doing a word problem about quadratic functions. So this is in the graphing quadratics function section, but we're going to end up doing a lot of word problems here too that don't necessarily involve graphs. So here's the problem. It says currently an artist can sell 200 paintings every year at the price of $60 per painting. Each time he raises the price per painting by $20, he sells 5 fewer paintings every year. Assume he will raise the price per painting X times, then he will sell this number of paintings because every time he raises the price, the number of paintings goes down by 5. So 200 minus 5x is the number of paintings. So I'm going to put that above this formula they gave us here. So this one's the paintings sold, this parenthesis. All right, and then the price. The other parentheses is the price because we started with a price of $60 per painting and we're adding $20 X number of times. It's always good to make sure you understand what the variables mean. So here, X is the number of these $20 increases. Increases in price. The other variable that we're seeing in this formula is I. So what we're worried about is the yearly income of this artist. That's what we're looking at. So in any kind of business, you have to set prices for whatever you're selling. And so in this case, if you set the price too high, you're going to sell less, but you'll make more money every time you sell it. If you set the price too low, then you might sell a lot, but you're not going to make as much money. So for example, this first sentence is sort of the current, like what he's doing. He sells 200 paintings every year at a price of $60 per painting. So his current income is 200 paintings times $60, so it's $12,000. But he's hoping he can make more than $12,000. And so that's what this is about, is raising the price. I should have written them in the opposite order, right? That the painting sold and the price are both changeable, but they both relate to X, how many of these $20 increases in price. So hopefully that helps us sort of get what's going on in the problem. So now let's see what they actually want us to do. It says if the artist wants to earn $30,000 per year, because right now he's getting $12,000 per year and that's not enough to live on. So let's try to get to $30,000 per year. What new price should he set? So I'm going to set I equal to 30,000. And then we are going to be solving for X. So everything else stays the same. 60 plus 20X times 200 minus 5X. In order to solve this, though, I need to get 0 on the left side of the equation, or I guess on the right side. I just need to get 0 on a side. So we're going to need to FOIL this, multiply it all out, and then combine it with this 30,000. So when I multiply, 6 times 2 is 12, and there's 3 zeros. 60 times 5, just 6 times 5 is 30, with an extra 0 from the 60. 20 times 200, 2 times 2 is 4, and then there's 3 zeros, again with an x. And then finally it's minus 100, x squared, because it's x times x at the end. Now in this case, I'm not really liking this minus x squared, so I'm going to end up adding everything to the left side. I need to get 0 on one side, but we can pick which side that is. So I'm going to add 100x squared to both sides. If I combine these, that makes 3,700x. I can subtract 3,700x to undo that. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna show my work a little bit better. All right, let me just do the x squared, and then we'll worry about the other stuff. So I have 100x squared plus 30,000 equals 12,000 plus 3,700x. I still need to get 0 on one side though. So I need to subtract 12,000 and subtract 3,700x to move it to the other side too. Be careful about what's like terms though. This x squared and the x are not like terms. Move all this up. So now I get 0 on one side. That was the goal. And on the other side, I have 100x squared, then minus 3,700x, and then plus 18,000 equals 0. So the reason we want 0 on that side is because then we can either factor or use the quadratic formula. Before I do either thing though, I'm not liking all these zeros. These are huge numbers. So because I have an equation, I'm allowed to divide both sides by whatever I want. So I'm going to divide every term by 100 because that's the greatest common factor. The other option is just to factor out 100, but in this case, since I have equals 0, it does the same thing. So I get x squared minus 37x plus 180 equals 0, and that already just feels a ton better. So what I initially did when I first did this problem is try to factor this. Like I looked for what goes into 180 because I always like factoring better than quadratic formula if it can happen. So I tried like, well, how many times is 5 going to 180? And I got 36, but that didn't add up to negative 37. And then I saw, well, how many times is 6 going to 180? And it was 30, and that's below 37. So this was enough to show me I couldn't factor it, right? Because I'm getting, let me make these all negatives. I'm getting a sum that's below negative 37 and a sum that's above negative 37 and nothing that can fit in between negative 5 and negative 6 for factoring. So if factoring doesn't work, then we got to use the quadratic formula. So let me just squeeze that in up here. So quadratic formula, x is negative b, or opposite of b. So if b is already negative, we make it positive, plus or minus the square root of b squared. And in this case, when I have a negative b, for the squaring part, I tend to ignore the negative just because when you square a negative, it becomes positive anyways. Then minus 4 times a times c, all over 2a. Hopefully we were getting better at our quadratic formula. So when I always just put in what's in the square root, that's actually called the discriminant, put that in the calculator, and I get 37 plus or minus the square root of 649 over 2. And then this can be put in the calculator. You just put 37 plus the square root of 649 and press equals and then divide by 2. Either that or group the top in parentheses. And what I got in the calculator, but try that on your own, make sure you can get them as well, is 31.24 when I use the plus and 5.76 when I use the minus. So those are two different answers. They're both positive, and so they would both make sense in this problem, which means we have two totally different solutions. But then the question is, well, what does this mean, right? It's great to get a couple numbers. So that's why it's so good to write down what x is. So if you look up where we were defining our variables, we wrote that x is the number of $20 increases. And the price, because that's what the question's asking, is what's the new price? And the price is the $60, the original price we've been selling for these paintings, then plus how many $20 increases. So we have two options depending on what our x is. So it could be 60 plus 20 times 31.24, which when I put that in a calculator, I got 684.80. Or if I put the 5.76 in, 60 plus 20 times 5.76, I got $175.25. And those are very rounded. They're not exact values, but this gives us an idea of what prices we could set for these paintings. And both of these prices for our paintings should be able to get us an income of $30,000. That was our goal. And then it's up to the artist of, well, which one should we set? And I hope we sort of get that, well, maybe there's something in between here that would be even better, right? That if I could go with either $175 or $684 or $685, I guess once we round, maybe we should go somewhere in between and try to make even more money. And that's what part B is asking us to do. We want to be able to find, well, what's the maximum income we could make? Because $30,000 isn't it, right? So if I can make more money, let's try to set the price to make the most money. Anytime we see one of these maximums for us, that means find the vertex. And find the vertex should immediately go, oh, well, that's x equals negative b over 2a. So we just need to find the right formula or right A and B to use in this. And what we're going to use is this income formula. So let's go back to the original problem. I equals 60 plus 20x times 200 minus 5x. And so in order to find the vertex, we need to multiply this all out and get our A and B for this formula. So I equals, it's actually the same FOIL we did in part A, so you can look up there too. We got 12,000 minus 300x plus 4,000x minus 100x squared. And then once you combine like terms, I'm also going to write it in standard form, putting the x squared out front. So I is negative 100x squared, and then plus 3,700x plus 12,000. So make sure the plus goes with the numbers that are positive. So then, let me scoot this up here. So now our A is negative 100, our B is 3,700, and our C is 12,000. Now in this case, you might have noticed in the last problem, I divided both sides by 100 and just got all these zeros out of there. This one's different though, because on the other side of the equation, I don't have a zero, I don't have a number, I just have an I. So I can't just take out the 100 because then I won't have the right income. If we're setting the income equal to 0, then sure, yeah, let's divide both sides by 100 and factor and do all kinds of things. But I'm not trying to set the income equal to 0. I want the income to be as big as possible. So we have to keep the 100 factor in there to know what the real income is. So I'm not going to mess with this. I'm just going to use that formula for the vertex. X equals opposite of B, so negative 3,700 over 2 times A, 2 times negative 100. So this is negative 3,700 over negative 200, and then you can put that in the calculator, and you get 18.5. And again, we got to make sure we know 18.5 like isn't the price of a painting. It's not the income. It's how many times we're increasing the price by $20. But this asks for the maximum income. That's the I. So let me plug it in for I. So I equals negative 100 times 18.5 squared plus 3,700 times 18.5 plus 12,000. And this can just go in a calculator exactly like it looks here. And when I put it in the calculator, I got $46,225. So I'm going to label it as the max income is this. And we want to also make sure that this makes sense. The part A was asking us when the income could be $30,000. So this makes sense that we would be able to get bigger than 30,000. Now this, it's hard to be an artist and to make a living at it, but this is definitely enough to support someone and to make it their full-time job. And so it makes sense, right? That this number seems reasonable if compared to 30,000 from the other one, that it would be a little more than that. All right, let's make sure we answered everything the question asked. What's the maximum income he could make? We got that. What should the price be for this income to occur? We need to know, as a business owner, how do we set our price? So the price is actually the same formula we used in part A. So for price, it's that 60, the original price of the paintings, plus how many times are we raising the price? So for us, it's 20 times 18.5. Remember, that's the X value we found for the vertex. And so if we put this in a calculator, we get 430.